Hi everyone, Comic Book Reviewer here. This time doing top 10 Simpson characters that have the potential for a spin-off. Now, if you think about it, at some point the Simpsons will eventually end. And if you think about it, Matt Groening would probably want to try and do a spin-off of a character. I mean, it had worked with the Cleveland Show. So here's the top 10. Number 10, Ned Flanders. Now, what can I say? Ned does have some potential for a spin-off. I mean, if you think about it, he's pretty much a widower, and he has 2 kids, and he does have some good potential for a spin-off, like having him trying to get back on the dating thing again, but who knows. Number 9, Comic Book Guy. Now, I admit, I actually like Comic Book Guy's character. He's kind of like me. I'm a comic book collector. I have met people, and stuff. He does have some potential for a spin-off. I mean, have him as somewhat of a guy who, with some friends, in his basement or something. Kind of like the Big Bang Theory, if something that happens. It could have some potential with his character. So, number 8, Principal Skinners. Now, I admit, even though Principal Skinners is kind of a deadbeat loser, he does have some potential for a good spin-off. I mean, have him as a character who is trying to get his life on track and, trying to do the right thing and such. And trying to get over his past relationships. He could have some potential for it. Number 7, Barney Gumble. Now, we all remember Barney Gumble, the lovable drunk who was sober and such, but he could have some potential for a spin-off. I mean, you think about it, he is kind of like Homer, but more drunk, and doesn't seem to, have much of a job and such. Have him as a guy who wants to put his life on track, and he could be a good potential character. Number 6, Krusty the Clown. Now, we admit, Krusty's kind of like the arrogant asshole character, but he kind of does have some good potential for a spin-off. I mean, as a guy who would probably want to carry on his father's rabbi work after his father died about 1 or 5 seasons ago. I mean, he could be that potential character. So, that's my thoughts. So, number 5, Chief Wiggums. Now, if you think about it, Chief Wiggums is kind of like the Roscoe Pico to The Simpsons. Incredibly dumb and incompetent. Now, Chief Wiggums could have some potential for a spin-off as a new cop in Shelbyville, training with some new recruits. He could have potential in Capital City as kind of like how the Dukes had their own spin-off, Eros. But it would probably kick off a bit well. Now, number 4, Lenny and Carl. Now, I admit, Lenny and Carl do have some good potentials for a spin-off. They are 2 characters who deeply care for each other, and they're kind of like the Will and Grace to the series. If you base it with that on Will and Grace, they could have a potential as a gay couple. And if you think about it, that would probably work for a show. I mean, showing kids and such that being gay isn't bad and that it isn't evil. So, number 3, Waylon Smithers. Now, I admit, Smithers does have some little potential for a series. I mean, have him as a guy who wants to find out who he is, and, probably have him as that kind of guy who has that life and such. So, number 2, Milhouse Von Houten. Now, I admit, Milhouse does have some potential for a spin-off. I mean, have him as that kid who, is kind of like the everyone hates Chris kind of type of character, and explaining his life and such, and it could work. Number 1, Mo Sislak. Now, I admit, Mo does have a lot of good potential for a spin-off. I mean, he has done a lot of amazing things. He has helped Apu, Reverend Lovejoy, and Homer with their relationships. He's also write poetry amazingly, and he does seem to care about Bart and Homer and his friends dearly. He does have that potential for a good spin-off. I mean, you know, he is a pretty interesting character to explore a bit more. So this is my top 10 list. So like, comment and subscribe. Comic Reviewer here, signing out.